Hello Pokemon trainers and welcome to the Fantasy Cup Meta Breakdown. Once again, I am working with my good friend and co-caster, CountXevious, who has come up with this little bit of idea of how he thinks the Fantasy Cup is going to shake out in this Great League edition. So just a little bit of a reminder for those of you who don't know, Fantasy Cup is a GBL meta that will be out soon, and it is in the Great League this time, which means all the Pokemon that are going to be in this are going to be under 1500 CP. And also, only Dragon, Steel, and Fairy type Pokemon are eligible. But that also means all the Pokemon with subtypings that still have a Dragon, Steel, or Fairy are eligible. So we're going to do this a little bit different than we normally do and not really categorize them into these three categories, but mostly more by their subtyping. We are going to, however, start out the way we usually start out this cycle with this circle or square of life, seeing which Pokemon are viable and kind of how they deal with each other. So the first one that we're going to talk about is Mawile. Mawile is Fairy, but also Fire, so it has the potential to be running either Fairy Wind as its fast attack or Fire Fang. Fire Fang will be obviously doing really well against the Steel type Pokemon. Fairy Wind does charge up to its charge attacks a little bit quicker. And so the one that we kind of have against it here is going to be that Flygon. Flygon is part Dragon and also Ground. And depending on the fast attack that the Mawile is running, it really kind of is a bait-dependent matchup between these two. Who will be able to take out the other one, because a Play Rough from a Mawile will definitely be enough to knock out that Flygon. Flygon also can be running Scorching Sands or Earth Power, which will be doing heavy damage to this Steel-type Pokemon. Flygon will also take care of the other fighters who are going to be using Counter as its fast attack, being a little bit of pseudo-fighters there themselves, and those are going to be the Escavalier and also going to be the Lucario. These Pokemon, however, are going to be doing really great against this Ground Steel Pokemon, which are going to be the Excadrill and the Galarian Stunfisk, and then in turn, because of this ground typing being able to be super effective against that Mawile, we kind of get what we were talking about, this square of life. Just another couple of matches, as you can see. Flygon also is going to be doing great against the Excadrill and the Galarian Stunfisk, and also it's going to be bait dependent and moveset dependent between the Mawile and the fighters. If Mawile is running Fire Fang, it's going to be doing very nice against both the Escavalier and the Lucario. If it is Fairy Wind, Escavalier has a heavy advantage, and Lucario is more bait dependent. Okay, so we can see how these Pokemon interact with each other. So from there, what we like to do is kind of look at how that meta is shaking up and seeing if there are any Pokemon that really counter the meta that we see. And there are some that are very glaringly good against almost all of these Pokemon, and that is going to be the fairies that also have the water typing. And that is going to be the Azumarill and the Tapu Fini. Water is super effective against a decent amount of these. Also, being able to run Ice Beam or Play Rough is going to be doing heavy damage to a lot of the Pokemon that are in as well. I don't really see a need for Hydro Pump on Azumarill in this meta, because I think Ice Beam Play Rough will be more effective, because the fast attacks of Bubble and also of Water Gun from the Tapu Fini are going to be doing very well against these Pokemon on the right-hand side. And then again, because Azumarill and Tapu Fini are going to be so strong, we need to think of some Pokemon that are viable that will also be able to take care of them. And that is going to be the Grass Steel type Pokemon, Ferrothorn. Ferrothorn is going to be able to pretty much do very well, hard walling Azumarill and Tapu Fini both. Some other ones that are going to be doing rather well overall are just the basic Steel type Pokemon. These Steel Pokemon that are going to be in the Dragon Steel Fairy lineup, and that is going to be Registeel, Skarmory, and Magnezone. And the way that we've done this in the past as well is left to right or top to bottom is who is going to beat the other one. So in this case scenario, Registeel will beat Skarmory and also Magnezone, and same Skarmory will be able to beat Magnezone. In a similar sense, Azumarill will be able to beat Tapu Fini, and Excadrill will be able to beat Galarian Stunfisk. Now, I did say earlier I didn't really see a need for Hydro Pump on Azumarill. I could be persuaded otherwise now that these Steel Pokemon are in there, because Registeel, Skarmory, and Magnezone do not want to be taking that Hydro Pump damage. It's really up to you what you feel will be able to make the most impact on your team of 3. And speaking of teams, we also have some teams that could be interesting to try in this Fantasy Cup meta. The first one is going to be a Tapu Fini lead with the Registeel Safe Swap, and then also a Lucario. And the second one is more what we call a standard ABB team, the Bs being those water type Pokemon, and then the A, of course, being Registeel. And so the goal of the typical ABB team is to use one of your Bs, say the Azumarill, to lure out the counter, which would be a Ferrothorn. And then once the Ferrothorn takes out the Azumarill, the Registeel would take out the Ferrothorn, and then your Tapu Fini in the back would be able to most likely sweep or take care of the rest of the team composition. So that's pretty much how we see the meta shaking out for the Fantasy Cup. Let me know in the comments below if you think we're missing any important Pokemon, or if you have any questions. More than happy to answer it. Good luck in your climb, trainers. See you at the legend top.